Hello everyone, I wanted to walk you through my gear for my upcoming 2023 Appalachian Trail through hike. I'll start with a couple disclaimers. First, I'm not sponsored by any gear company, so I purchased all of this gear with my own money. Second, this is a pre-hike gear list, so I don't exactly know how this gear is going to perform, but I will try to keep you updated as I move down the trail. So let's start with what's on the outside of the pack first. So first I have my trusty Razorback hat. I generally don't like to hike in hats. However, I'm not bringing a comb, and I also don't know how often I'll have the opportunity to get a haircut, so I thought taking a hat would be a good idea. The hat is secured to the pack with a Night Eyes S-Beaner number 3. Next, I'll move to my camp shoes. So I keep my camp shoes on the outside of my pack just because, number one, they're bulky, but number two, they also tend to get quite dirty. Now, I don't strictly need a pair of camp shoes. These are more of a luxury item, but I think they'll be useful when I get to camp at night, right? And your feet are, sweaty and gross, and you want to take your, shoes and socks off, put these on, let your feet dry out. They'll also be useful when I get to perhaps hostels or campgrounds that have showers. I can basically use these as shower shoes. And then also they will be useful when I ever need to ford streams. Now these are Vivo Barefoot Ultra 3s. So a little bit lighter than Crocs, although they're less substantial, so I probably wouldn't want to hike in these, but I think they'll be useful around camp. All right, let's start then on this side. So I have my tent. My tent is attached to my pack using a Night Eyes carabiner, a number 2. The tent itself is a Z-Pax duplex tent. So that is a 2-person tent. It is Dyneema, so it's fully waterproof tent. It's single walled. It is a trekking pole tent, so I do not have separate tent poles. I will just use my trekking poles as my tent poles. And I have that in a Z-Pax tall dry bag. On the other side, I have a Z-Pax medium dry bag, and then within that, I have supplies for heeding nature's call, so a trowel, and then a Ziploc bag with toilet paper and Dr. Bronner's soap. On top, I have a Mountain Laurel Designs. This is a 1-inch or 1/8 inch thick EVA closed cell foam pad. I will use this as a sit pad, but it's also very long, so I can use this in my tent. I will place my inflatable sleeping pad on top of this, so this just gives me an extra layer of protection. So let's say if I put my tent on, a rock or a stick or something, this is just an extra layer of protection trying to keep my inflatable foam pad from popping. But I can also use it on the floor of shelters that tend to be pretty gross. I can also use it maybe as a yoga mat or just as a windbreak for my stove when I'm cooking if it's in windy conditions. Okay, let's start with the center mesh pocket then. This is my water filtration system. So I have a CNOC 2-liter. This will be my dirty water bag. So what I'll do here is basically just open this up, and then I'll just place it in the stream. And then this is the actual filtration system. So this is a Sawyer squeeze. So I'll basically just roll it down, and this will squeeze into my water bottles. A Sawyer squeeze is pretty light. The only downside of a Sawyer squeeze is that if it freezes, then the integrity of the filter is lost. So if I'm hiking or sleeping in sub-freezing temperatures, I need to have this on my body somewhere to keep it from freezing. All right, next is a water scoop. So one issue with the CNOC is that if the water flow isn't substantial enough, it might be difficult to get that entire bag, let's say in the trickle of water. So I might have to scoop my water. So I made this water scoop out of a Gatorade bottle. Now the issue is just the material that Gatorade bottles are made out of. It resulted in some sharp edges, and I didn't want those sharp edges cutting up the mesh on my tent. So I put it in a small Z-Pax dry bag. Now, I'll probably try to make a different kind of water scoop, perhaps out of a different type of water bottle that's easier to cut and that doesn't result in as many jagged edges. and that way I might be able to ditch the dry bag, which might save me half an ounce or so. All right, next is my rain jacket. So my rain jacket is an Arc'teryx Zeta LT. So this is a 3-layer fully waterproof jacket. Arc'teryx does not make this model anymore. I have had this for about 5 years. And so maybe I could save an ounce or two if I bought the latest, greatest model. But these are quite expensive, and it's hard to justify that expenditure when I have a perfectly good rain jacket sitting in the closet. Next is my rain pants. These are Montbell Versalites. Now, these are made from Gore-Tex Infinium fabric. So Gore-Tex Infinium is not fully waterproof. It is only water resistant, but they're much, much lighter and much easier to pack. So yes, I can use them when they're, when it's raining outside. I can also use them as basically wind pants when I'm hiking or to keep warm at camp at night. It will also be useful for when I'm in town. So if I go to try to wash all my clothes at the laundromat, right, I want to put all of my clothes in the laundromat, but you can't just hang out at laundromats naked, right? And so these will be useful. I will just wear my rain pants and my rain jacket while I'm doing laundry in town. All right, last thing in the center mesh pocket are my tent stakes. So this is the Z-Packs bag that came with my tent. However, I'm not using the Z-Packs tent stakes. Instead, I am using 8 MSR groundhog stakes. So these are a little bit longer than the Z-Packs stakes. They don't weigh any more, so perhaps they're thinner, but I've never had any problems with them bending or breaking. Okay, let's flip the pack around. And so you can see my water bottles. I have 2 1-liter smart water bottles. And then those are going to be attached to the pack with some water bottle holders. So I bought these off of Etsy. There is a page called Justin's Ultralight. So I like these. I've attached them directly to the daisy chain on my shoulder straps. I changed out the buckle that came with the water bottle holders. These are the buckles that actually came with a set of sleeping bag straps with my pack that I'm not using. But I like using this sort of system because my water bottles are always there. I don't have to sort of try to reach behind me or anything like that. They're just always on my shoulder straps. Okay. As far as the pack itself is a Superior Wilderness Designs Long Haul 50 Ultralight. So it is made from Ultra 200 fabric, which is a fully waterproof fabric. So I like the design. I like having a single, a single compartment and fastened with a roll top style dry bag. There are lighter packs out there. There are also packs that can sort of carry heavier loads, but I think this is a good blend of those 2 dimensions. So again, it is a fully waterproof pack, so I'm not carrying a pack cover. I understand that water can still get into a pack via seams, etc. So I will be using dry bags on the inside. All right, let's go ahead and open up the pack. So the first thing on top is my food bag. So this is a Z-Packs bear bagging kit. So I did change out the carabiner. The Z-Packs carabiner is somewhat small and flimsy, so I replaced it with a Night Eyes number 2. Inside I have my the line that I will use to hang my food at night that came with the bear bagging kit. And then inside that inside the bag I have my MSR Titan titanium pot. So this is an 850 milliliter pot. Inside that I have my lighter and my stove. So this is just the orange. This is just an orange stuff sack that the stove came in. It helps it from sort of rattling around, so it keeps the stove from rattling around. But I have my MSR Pocket Rocket 2 stove, and then I have just a mini Bic lighter. And then also inside my pot is my where I'll keep my fuel canister. So this is the MSR IsoPro small size. And then I also have a towel. So this is a pack towel ultralight. So I use this, basically as like a pot holder. So when I'm cooking and my pot gets hot, I can also use that to clean out the inside of my pot. All right, next bag is going to be my clothes bag. So this is a Z-Packs Medium Plus dry bag. And then inside I have my buff. So this is a lightweight merino buff. So I can use this as a neck gaiter. I can make it into a sweatband. I can make it into a hat. Lots of uses for a buff. Then I have a pair of outdoor research. These are waterproof liner gloves. And then a Patagonia R1 beanie. So I don't expect to need my hat and gloves for the full hike, but when I'm starting out, it can still be cold. Maybe hiking, certainly in camp. And so whenever it warms up, I will intend to send my gloves and hat home. Then I have my spare set of hiking socks. So I have an Injinji toe liners, right, or toe socks. So these help minimize friction, skin-on-skin contact between your toes, so help remove blisters. And then I also have my Darn Tough merino wool hiking socks. I also then have a pair of camp socks. So these are Defeat Woolly Bully 6 inches. So Defeat is actually a more known as a cycling company. But I do like these socks, so I will not hike in these. These are only for basically wearing around camp and sleeping in. So again, they always stay dry inside the dry bag. Spare set of underwear, Under Armour 6-inch boxer jocks. Then I have my sleep clothes. So again, I will not hike in this set. These are strictly for sleeping in. So these are Patagonia Capeline midweights. So I have the long bottoms, and then also the Capeline midweight crew. Then I have my insulating layers. So when I am hiking, right, my active insulating layer will be a Patagonia R1. This is a hoodie. It is not full zip. It's just a partial zip, I suppose, to save weight. But again, when I'm hiking, this will be what I use because it is breathable. Now, when I'm static though, right, so when I'm not hiking, when I'm just hanging around in camp, my primary insulation layer will be my puffy jacket. So this is an Arc'teryx Cerium. It is a down jacket, so down is warmer. It's also more packable. But of course, this cannot get wet. If this gets wet, it loses its insulated properties. So again, I will generally not use this hiking. I don't want to be sweating, but I will just use this around camp. All right. Next, I have another Z-Packs Medium Plus dry bag. So a lot of miscellaneous things in here. So first I have basically my non-scented items. This is a Ziploc 1-gallon bag. So inside here I have just some medication. So I do have seasonal allergies, so I have some Allegra in here. I'm also trying to get my allergy doctor to send some allergy shots to a clinic along the trail. I'm having a little bit trouble finding a clinic that will accept that. So if anybody watching this video has had any experience about, clinics along the trail willing to administer shots to, non-normal patients, then let me know. But again, Allegra in here, also some ibuprofen, also some Advil Cold and Sinus, which is just ibuprofen with a decongestant, and then also some Imodium in case something terrible happens. Also have again, a prescription nasal spray. All right, this is just a mouth guard, and so I tend to grind my teeth at night, and so this is just protects against that. I also have a backup water treatment system. So this is Aquamira. So these basically you combine drops from each bottle and then pour that into some water and let it sit for a certain period of time, and that makes the water safe to drink. Again, my primary system will be the Sawyer Squeeze, but again, the risk behind the Sawyer Squeeze is what happens if it freezes, compromises the integrity of the filter, and so again, I always want to have a backup water treatment plan. I also have 2 caps. These come with the Sawyer Squeeze. So basically these can be a backup in case on the Sawyer Squeeze itself has a cap. You want to keep that clean. So in case that cap gets compromised in any way. And then also spare caps for my smart water bottles. So on a shakedown hike, I did drop one of my water bottles once, and I cracked the cap. And so I've learned to sort of take these with me. This is the Sawyer Squeeze back flush coupling. So the Sawyer Squeeze will accumulate sediment within that filter, and so every once in a while you're going to need to back flush that, because if you don't, then basically the flow rate will just gradually get worse until it's barely a trickle. And so when I get to town, I can back flush my Sawyer Squeeze to maintain the flow rate. I also have a backup set of shock cord. So again, just like the shock cord that was on the front of my pack, this is the same Gossamer Gear shock cord set with 3 cord locks. I want to back up in case that gets compromised, but also I can basically string this up between a couple of trees in camp and basically make a clothesline out of it. Then I have a Thermarest repair kit. So again, if my inflatable pad is compromised, right? If I can find the leak, I would have to probably blow that up, find a body of water, suppress it, and see where the bubbles are coming up. If I can do that, then perhaps I can patch it. I then have some other tape. So I have Ultra 200 tape for my pack. I also have some tape for my tent if that springs a leak. And then I have some miscellaneous gear patches. They're tenacious tape. So let's say if my puffy jacket or something else gets a hole in it, I can patch that. And then I also have 5 Band-Aids. I also have duct tape. You never know when you can use duct tape. Then I have a set of nail clippers and a small Swiss Army knife. Okay, have another Ziploc gallon bag, this time with all of my scented items. So all of my scented items I will hang with my food at night, but I have my Tokes titanium spoon. So I'm not carrying a knife or a fork, I just have a Tokes spoon in the stuff sack that came with the spoon. I have a small plastic baggie around some Body Glide. So I have found on my shakedown hikes that hiking long distances and sweating a lot without showers in between can leave some salt deposits. That can lead to chafing. I definitely don't want that. So I have some Body Glide. I keep that in its own container just because the container tends to get greasy. Toothbrush and toothpaste. So this is just a little travel toothbrush and a travel size toothpaste. I have some sunscreen. So this is just SPF 30. I don't know how often I'll apply this. I'll certainly use it at the beginning of the hike. What I'm worried about is I'm hiking perhaps before the trees leaf in, right? And I definitely don't want, let's say, my ears or my nose or my neck to get really fried. So I'll definitely use this at the start of the hike. Once I'm hiking in the green tunnel, we'll see how much of this I actually need. Bug spray. So this is just tick and insect repellent. So this is DEET from the brand is Benz. Also have some floss. And then lastly, I have some Sea to Summit Wilderness wipes. So I'm going to start out with these. My thought is that this might be nice. Again, if you're not taking a shower for several days, you can use that sort of wipe down your face, your underarms, and your undercarriage. But these are not, your Leave No Trace principle says you're not allowed to bury this. So you can bury your toilet paper, but you are supposed to pack out your used wipes. So we'll see, right? I'll start off with these. If I find them helpful, then I'll just probably resupply with some sort of normal baby wipes that I find down the trail. All right. Next is a Rawlology cork lacrosse ball. So I have struggled with IT band pain in the past, so I can basically use this to roll out particularly my glute medius, but basically roll out my glutes. I can also roll out the soles of my feet to try to prevent plantar fasciitis. So very lightweight, and again, you know, I have a bit of a mobility routine that I try to do to keep from incurring any overuse injuries. Next, I have a Sea to Summit Airlight towel. So again, if I find a shower at, let's say, a campsite or something like that, I can use this as a towel. I can also use it to basically wipe down any condensation on the tent. I have a Sea to Summit Eros Ultralight pillow. So I do like having a dedicated pillow. And so, you know, my sleep is worth carrying an extra few grams for a dedicated pillow. I then have a head net, right? So this is a Sea to Summit head net with insect shield. So again, you'll tend to encounter lots of mosquitoes and potentially black flies up in New England. Definitely want this. Next, I have the AT Guide, also known as the AWOL Guide. So AWOL is the trail name of a person named David Miller who used to publish this. I believe he sold the rights to a company. But again, this has basically, you know, mile markers and where are shelters and where are water sources and town amenities, etc. So I'll talk more about how I'm sort of navigating in the future. But again, I want a set of paper maps. I do have an app that I will also use. But you know, if your phone runs out of battery or if you drop your phone on a rock, it's always helpful to have sort of a paper backup. I'm only carrying half of it just to save weight. So my wife will mail me the other half at a given point in time. I did hole punch it and attached a Z-Packs Mini D carabiner. And then I have a Right in the Rain pen in case I want to take notes. And then lastly is my electronics bag. So again, in a Ziploc 1-gallon bag. So I have a Anker charger. I'm not exactly sure on the model number, but it has 2 USB-C outputs. I then have my Anker 20,000 milliamp battery bank. I have a set of Apple earpods. So these are wired. Basically, I don't want to worry about having to charge AirPods. So again, these will draw power directly from the phone. I don't anticipate using these to listen to music or anything, but they do have a microphone. So if I'm filming in windy conditions, these will be useful. And then they'll also be useful for editing videos at night in my tent. Last thing in my electronics bag are my just charging cables. So I have my USB-C to USB-C 2-foot cord. So again, I'll plug this into the charger and into my power bank, or I can charge from the charger to my headlamp. Obviously, I can't do both of those at the same time. That's fine, right? The more important thing will be my, my power bank. And then also, I have an iPhone, and so I need a USB-C to Lightning connector. All right, that is it for that particular dry bag. What's next is my inflatable pad. So again, this is the Thermarest Neo Air X-Lite. Again, the advantages of an inflatable pad is it's lighter, it is more comfortable, and it is more packable. But again, the downside is that, of course, it can pop. And so again, I have that Mountain Laurel Designs closed cell foam pad that I'll put underneath to try to keep this from popping. All right, lastly, we have another Z-Packs Medium Plus dry bag. Inside is my sleeping bag. My sleeping bag is a Western Mountaineering Summerlight. So this is a 32-degree sleeping bag. That's probably a little bit less warm than what some people have, but again, I'm leaving in April. so I don't anticipate having too many nights, maybe at the start where this might be a little bit chilly, but I think this will work for the majority of the trail. It is a full mummy bag, so it is not a quilt. I have tried quilts in the past. I understand that quilts can be lighter, but if you sort of turn, toss and turn, that's always let air in, and when it's chilly, I've always found that to disrupt my sleep, so I get better sleep in a full mummy bag. But it does have a full-length zipper, so when it is warm, I can basically undo the full-length zipper and use it as a blanket. All right, now let's talk about what I'm going to wear, starting with shoes. These are the Ultra Lone Peak 6s. I've tried various pairs of shoes, so I've tried the Ultra Lone Peaks, I've tried the Hoka Speed Goats, I've also tried the Brooks Cascadias. I just find that these fit my feet the best. I also like that they have an integrated gator trap. They are a zero drop shoe, which means that the stack height is the same at the heel and the forefoot, but I've been wearing zero drop shoes for a long time now, so I think my feet are adapted. We've already talked about my socks. You saw my backup pair in my clothes bag, but again, my primary hiking pair is just Injinji toe liners with Darn Tough socks. Same thing with underwear, right? You saw my backup pair in my clothes bag, but again, just another pair of Under Armour 6-inch boxer jocks. Now, if it's cold outside, I do have long underwear, a base layer that I can wear. So again, this is just another set of Patagonia Capilene midweights. Again, this would be for hiking, whereas the pair you saw earlier is only for around camp. So again, I want to save a pair that would be always dry at camp, but this is a set that I could use for hiking in cold conditions. So those are the pants, and then again, just another Patagonia Capilene midweight crew top. As far as shorts, these are the Arc'teryx Gamma Quick Dry shorts. I like them a lot. They have an integrated belt as well, which is nice. And then I have an Arc'teryx synthetic t-shirt. I'm not exactly sure on the model name off the top of my head, but again, synthetic, quickly dries. Now, I also have a set of Dirty Girl gaiters. So I like to wear gaiters just to keep the sticks and the rocks and any other sort of dirt and debris out of my shoes. So again, these attach, they have a Velcro attachment point that I attach to my gator trap on my Ultras, and then they have basically a hook that I will hook to the front of the shoelaces, and again, just keeps debris out of my shoes. Keeping my feet clean is important. What else do I have? In the pockets of my shorts, I have a Z-Packs Dyneema waterproof wallet. So again, I will have basically, license, credit cards, etc. in here. It is waterproof. I will also have my phone. So this is an iPhone 14 Pro. So I'm actually filming on a separate camera right now. But I bought a new iPhone for this trip, mainly because a better camera, also because larger storage, but also because the iPhone 14s now have the emergency SOS feature. So again, if I'm in distress somewhere where I don't have cell phone signal, it does have satellite messaging capability. So as long as I can see the sky, I should be able to get emergency assistance. Then I just have chapstick in my pocket. And then lastly, I have my trekking poles. So these are Black Diamond Alpine Carbon corks. So again, I prefer a cork grip as opposed to foam or anything else, or rubber. And they have this cam system that is extendable height. And again, I will use my trekking poles not only as sort of walking sticks, but these are also my tent poles, right? So again, my Z-Packs Duplex is a trekking pole tent. So I do have to be careful, because if one of these were to break, then not only have I broken my walking sticks, but I've also broken my tent poles, which would mean I would need to find a stick of roughly suitable height in order to set up my tent. So pros and cons of a trekking pole tent, but I do like these poles. All right, let's talk about some things that I'm not taking. When I was watching gear videos, I would always find it interesting what people are taking, but I always wondered, well, what did they consider taking but decided against? And so what am I not taking? Well, I am not taking a Z-seat, As I already described, I have my Mountain Laurel Designs closed foam pad, right? It's much longer. It's a little bit heavier, but again, I think that versatility warrants the extra grams. But if I ever decide that, hey, I do need to shed weight, I could switch it out for a lighter Z seat. What else am I not taking? I'm not taking a separate standalone emergency device. So I do have a Garmin InReach Mini. This is the first version. There is a second version out there, but this would be useful, except for that I think that my iPhone's satellite capability sort of renders this somewhat obsolete. Now again, I know that, hey, this is probably much more rugged than my iPhone, right? If my iPhone drops on a rock, then I've got problems. Whereas this, I could throw it down a mountain and it'd probably still be okay. This also has the advantage of I could send texts, let's say to my wife or to my family members or friends that, hey, I'm in camp, I'm okay. Whereas the iPhone's SOS capabilities is only for notifying emergency responders. But again, is it worth the wait? I decided that it's not. Hopefully that I don't live to regret that decision. What else am I not taking? I'm not taking a sleeping bag liner. So again, I have a 32-degree bag. It's possible that I might see temperatures at or below that temperature the first few weeks of my hike. So I do have this. This is a Sea to Summit reactor liner. It supposedly adds 14 degrees. That seems a little bit aggressive. But even if I assume that it only adds half of that, let's say 7 degrees, that would take me down to 25 degrees comfortably. So I will probably just look at the forecast right before I leave. And if there's any temperatures sort of below 32 degrees, I might consider adding this at the last minute. But again, I would probably only need this for the first few weeks, and then I could probably send this home. All right, last thing that I considered taking was an umbrella. I've seen a lot of people that really like their umbrellas, right? The idea is that, look, if you're just hiking in the rain all day, even if you have a waterproof jacket, right, eventually you're going to get wet, and it can be just very demoralizing to have rain pouring down on you. And so perhaps this keeps the rain off of you, right? Maybe you don't need a rain jacket, or you need a lighter rain jacket, and you're not sort of, sweating as well. But again, it's just, is that worth the wait? And I'm somewhat space constrained, so ultimately I decided against taking the umbrella. Okay, let's wrap up by talking about weight. So my base weight, that is basically excluding my water, also excluding my fuel, and excluding the items that I'm wearing, comes to 16.7 pounds. Now, as far as perishable items, so again, that would be including 2 liters of water, a small fuel canister, and let's assume 5 days of food at 2 pounds a day. That comes to 14.9 pounds of consumables. So in total, my pack weight would be 31.6 pounds walking out of town. Now my worn weight, so the clothes that I'm wearing plus my trekking poles, etc., that was 5 pounds, which basically gives me a total system weight of 36.6 pounds. So that's about 22% of my body weight. Now, is that good? Is that bad? I don't really know. I'm probably somewhere around the average, right? I'm sure there are people with lighter packs. I'm sure there are people with heavier packs, okay? But I will keep you up to date on my gear performance once I hit the trail. I am 61 days away from launch. I don't necessarily expect to make any more videos prior to launch, but if there's something that you would like to see before I actually hit the trail, then definitely put that in the comments. Once I get started on the trail, I will have more information about the charity I'm supporting and how to donate. But that's it for now. Again, please like and subscribe. Thanks for your support, and I'll see you when I hit the trail.